Akiko Tanaka sat at the big round table in the fancy hotel dining room. The lights were bright and warm. The room was full of important business people from around the world. They were all wearing expensive suits and talking loudly to each other. But Akiko felt very alone. She was the boss of a huge technology company called Zenith Global Technologies. Her company was worth $50 billion. That was more money than most people could even think about. She had built this company from nothing. She had worked day and night for 20 years to make it successful. Her company made computers and robots that could think like humans. These machines helped doctors save lives and helped farmers grow more food. But tonight, none of that seemed to matter. Akiko looked around the room and saw all the other business leaders laughing and shaking hands. They were making deals and becoming friends. She wanted to join them. She had so many good ideas to share. Her company had just invented something amazing that could help save the world from getting too hot. But every time she tried to talk, people looked at her strangely. The problem was language. Akiko could speak some English, but not very well. In Japan, she was known as one of the smartest people in business. She could give speeches that made thousands of people excited about the future. She could explain the most difficult ideas in ways that anyone could understand. But here in New York, her words came out wrong. She sounded like a child trying to speak like an adult. The man sitting next to her was named Robert Smith. He owned a big car company in America. He had been talking all evening about how American companies were the best in the world. He did not even look at Akiko when she tried to say hello. When she tried to tell him about her new invention, he just nodded and turned away to talk to someone else. On her other side sat a woman named Catherine Mills. She was the boss of a big bank in London. Catherine smiled at Akiko sometimes, but her smile looked fake. When Akiko tried to explain how her new technology could help banks work better, Catherine just said, "How interesting," and then started talking to the man across from her. Akiko had brought an interpreter with her. His name was David, and he was supposed to help her talk to the other people. But David seemed more interested in talking about himself than helping Akiko. When she gave him important things to say, he made them sound simple and boring. When other people said things about her company, he did not tell her everything they said. She could tell by their faces that some of them were not being kind, but David just smiled and said everything was fine. The dinner had started 2 hours ago. There had been soup, then salad, then fish, then meat. With each course, Akiko felt more and more invisible. The other business leaders talked about their companies and their plans. They talked about making money and beating their competition. But when Akiko tried to talk about working together to solve big problems in the world, they did not seem interested. She thought about her company back in Tokyo. Thousands of smart people worked there. They all believed in making the world better through technology. They had just finished working on something that could change everything. It was a new way to store energy from the sun and wind. This invention could help every country stop using oil and coal. It could help stop the air from getting dirty and the world from getting too hot. Akiko had come to this dinner because she wanted to find partners in other countries. She wanted to share her invention with companies in America and Europe. Together, they could build factories and create millions of new jobs. They could help poor countries get clean energy. They could work together instead of fighting against each other. But no one here seemed to understand what she was trying to tell them. When she tried to explain her ideas in English, the words came out in the wrong order. People looked confused or bored. Some of them even laughed, but not in a nice way. They thought she did not know what she was talking about. The worst part was when the main speaker of the evening got up to talk. His name was Jack Morrison, and he was very famous in America. He owned many technology companies. When he started speaking, everyone got quiet to listen to him. Jack talked about how American companies were leading the world in technology. He said that other countries were trying to copy American ideas, but they could never be as good as the original. He talked about foreign competition like it was something dangerous. When he said these things, he looked right at Akiko. His eyes were cold and unfriendly. David, her interpreter, told her that Jack was talking about international cooperation, but Akiko understood enough English to know that was not true. Jack was saying that American companies should not trust companies from other countries. He was saying that companies like hers were trying to steal American secrets. Akiko felt her face get hot with embarrassment and anger. She had never tried to steal anything from anyone. Her company had invented everything by themselves. They had worked hard and played by all the rules. She wanted to stand up and tell everyone the truth. She wanted to explain that she came here to help, not to hurt anyone. But when she tried to speak, her English failed her again. The words got stuck in her mouth. People started talking to each other instead of listening to her. She felt smaller and smaller, like she was disappearing. The servers brought the next course. It was a beautiful piece of chocolate cake with gold decorations on top. Everyone around the table was excited about the dessert. They took pictures with their phones and posted them on social media. But Akiko just stared at her plate. She had lost her appetite. She thought about her daughter back home in Japan. Her daughter was studying to be a doctor. She wanted to help sick children get better. Akiko had built her company so that her daughter could live in a better world. A world where people from different countries worked together instead of fighting. A world where technology helped everyone, not just the rich people. But sitting in this room full of important people who would not listen to her, Akiko wondered if that dream was possible. Maybe the world was not ready for cooperation. Maybe people would always be afraid of anyone who was different from them. The evening was almost over. Soon everyone would go back to their hotel rooms and then fly home to their own countries. Nothing would change. The world would keep getting hotter. People would keep fighting over oil and money. And her amazing invention would stay locked, away in her laboratories in Japan, helping no one. Akiko looked around the room one more time. All these powerful people were so busy talking about themselves that they could not see the opportunities right in front of them. They could not see that working together would make them all stronger. They could not see that the quiet woman sitting among them had the key to solving some of the world's biggest problems. She picked up her water glass and took a small sip. The water was cold and clean. She closed her eyes for a moment and tried to remember why she had come here. She had come because she believed in people. She believed that smart people could find ways to work together, even when it was hard. She believed that good ideas could change the world, no matter what language they were spoken in. But belief was not enough. She needed someone who could help her communicate. She needed someone who could build bridges between her world and theirs. She needed a miracle. What Akiko did not know was that her miracle was already in the room, wearing a black uniform and carrying a water pitcher, watching everything with intelligent eyes and understanding more than anyone could imagine. The servers cleared away the dessert plates and brought coffee and tea. The smell of fresh coffee filled the room. People were getting more relaxed now. They had eaten good food and drunk expensive wine. Their voices got louder and their laughs got bigger. Jack Morrison was still standing at the front of the room. He was the most important speaker of the night. Everyone was listening to him talk about the future of technology, but the things he said made Akiko feel sick to her stomach. "We cannot let foreign companies take our ideas," Jack said with a big smile. "American innovation built the modern world. We invented the computer, the internet, and the smartphone. Now some countries want to steal our technology and pretend they invented it themselves." When he said foreign companies, his eyes looked straight at Akiko. Other people in the room turned to look at her too. She felt like a small animal being watched by hungry wolves. Her hands started to shake a little bit, so she put them under the table where no one could see. Jack continued talking. "These foreign companies send their people to our schools and our conferences. They learn our secrets and then go back to their countries to copy everything we do. But they can never be as good as the original. They can only make cheap copies that break easily." David, the interpreter, was supposed to tell Akiko what Jack was saying, but David was not telling her the truth. He whispered to her that Jack was talking about how all countries should work together to solve world problems. David did not want to upset Akiko by telling her that Jack was being mean about foreign companies. But Akiko understood more English than David thought she did. She had studied English in school and she watched American movies and TV shows to practice. She knew that Jack was saying bad things about companies like hers. She knew he was telling people not to trust her. Her face felt hot with anger and shame. She had never stolen anything from anyone. Her company spent billions of dollars every year on research. They had the smartest scientists and engineers in the world working for them. Everything they made was new and original. They had even won awards from American universities for their inventions. Akiko wanted to stand up and defend herself. She wanted to tell everyone in the room about all the good things her company had done. They had made computers that helped blind people see and machines that helped people with broken backs walk again. They had invented new ways to clean dirty water and grow food in places where nothing could grow before. But when she tried to speak, the words came out all wrong. "My company, we do not take. We make new things," and you said in broken English. Her voice was too quiet and most people could not hear her over Jack's loud voice. The few people who did hear her just smiled politely and looked away. They thought she did not understand what was happening. They thought she was just a confused, foreign woman who did not belong at this important dinner. Robert Smith, the car company owner sitting next to her, laughed at something Jack said. Then he turned to the man on his other side and said, "These Asian companies think they can just copy our designs and sell them for cheaper prices. But American buyers are smart enough to know the difference between quality and junk." Akiko understood every word he said. She knew he was talking about her and her company. Her company made the highest quality products in the world. Their computers and robots lasted longer and worked better than anything made in America or Europe. But because her products cost less money, people like Robert thought they must be cheap copies. Catherine Mills, the bank owner on Akiko's other side, was having her own conversation with a woman across the table. "I heard that some of these foreign tech companies are just fronts for their governments," Catherine said quietly. "They pretend to be private businesses, but really they are trying to steal our economic secrets." This made Akiko even angrier. Her company was completely private. She had built it with her own money and her own ideas. The Japanese government had nothing to do with her business. She paid her taxes and followed all the laws, just like any other company. But people like Catherine believed crazy stories they read on the internet instead of learning the truth. Jack Morrison was still talking at the front of the room. Now he was showing pictures on a big screen. The pictures showed American factories and American workers. "This is what real innovation looks like," he said. "American workers using American technology to build American products. We need to protect this from unfair foreign competition." When he said unfair foreign competition, he pointed directly at Akiko. Everyone in the room turned to look at her again. She felt like she was on trial for crimes she had never committed. Some people whispered to each other while looking at her. She could not hear what they were saying, but she could tell from their faces that it was not good. Akiko tried one more, time to speak up for herself. She stood up slowly from her chair. The room got a little bit quieter. "Excuse me," she said in her best English. "I want to say something about cooperation. My company wants to work with American companies. We want to help solve big problems together." But Jack Morrison did not stop talking. He just talked louder so that people would listen to him instead of her. "The solution is simple," he said. "We need stronger laws to protect American technology. We need to be more careful about who we share our secrets with. We need to put America first in everything we do." People in the room started clapping and cheering. They were excited by Jack's speech. They felt proud to be American and angry at foreign companies. Akiko sat back down in her chair, feeling defeated. No one wanted to hear what she had to say. David, her interpreter, patted her arm gently. "Do not worry," he whispered to her. "He is just talking about politics. It has nothing to do with you personally." But Akiko knew that David was wrong. Jack's speech had everything to do with her personally. He was telling everyone in the room that she was dangerous and untrustworthy. He was making sure that no American company would want to work with her. He was destroying her dreams of international cooperation before she even had a chance to explain her ideas. The worst part was that Akiko knew Jack was wrong about everything. Foreign companies were not trying to steal American technology. They were trying to share their own technology to make the world better. Her company had inventions that could help American companies make more money and create more jobs. But Jack did not want to hear about that. He only wanted to talk about fighting and competition. As Jack finished his speech, people stood up and clapped loudly. Some of them even whistled and cheered. They were excited by his message of American superiority. They felt good about being told that they were the best in the world and that everyone else was trying to hurt them. Akiko felt tears starting to form in her eyes, but she blinked them away. She would not let these people see her cry. She was stronger than that. She had faced harder challenges before and won. When she was young, people told her that women could not run big companies. When she started her business, people said that a small Japanese company could never compete with the big American and European corporations. But she had proved them all wrong. She thought about all the people back home who were counting on her. The thousands of workers at her company who believed in her vision. The scientists and engineers who worked late into the night to invent new technologies. The customers around the world who used her products to make their lives better. She could not give up on them just because some ignorant people at a dinner party did not want to listen to her. Akiko made a decision. She would not let Jack Morrison's cruel words stop her from trying to change the world. She would find a way to make people understand that cooperation was better than competition. She would find a way to show them that her ideas could help everyone, not just her own company. But first, she needed to find someone who could help her communicate. Someone who could translate not just her words, but her dreams and her hopes for the future. Someone who could build a bridge between her world and theirs. She looked around the room at all the servers who were cleaning up the dinner dishes. They moved quietly and efficiently, invisible to the important business people. But Akiko noticed one server in particular. A young black woman who seemed to be watching everything with very intelligent eyes. There was something different about her, something that made Akiko think she might understand more than she was letting on. As the evening continued with more speeches and more networking, Akiko kept watching this mysterious server. She had a feeling that this young woman might be the key to everything, but she had no idea just how right she was about to be. Maya Johnson moved between the tables like a dancer. She carried heavy trays of dishes and glasses, but she made it look easy. Her black uniform was simple and clean. Her hair was pulled back in a neat bun. To most people in the room, she was invisible, just another server doing her job. But Maya was much more than that. She was 26 years old and very smart. During the day, she went to Columbia University, where she was studying for her PhD in linguistics. That meant she was learning about languages and how people communicate. She could speak 7 different languages fluently. At night and on weekends, she worked as a server to pay for her school. Maya had grown up in a poor neighborhood in Brooklyn. Her mother worked 2 jobs to support Maya and her younger brother. Her father had left when Maya was very young. Money was always tight in their family, but Maya's mother always told her that education was the key to a better life. Learn everything you can, her mother would say. Knowledge is the one thing no one can take away from you. So Maya studied hard all through school. She got good grades and won scholarships to help pay for college. She was especially good at learning languages. It started when she was in high school and took Spanish classes. She found it easy and fun to learn new words and grammar rules. Her teacher encouraged her to keep studying languages. In college, Maya studied French, German, and Italian. She spent a year studying in France and another year in Germany. After college, she got a scholarship to study in Japan for 2 years. That was where she learned to speak Japanese fluently. She lived with a Japanese family and went to language school every day. She fell in love with Japanese culture and made many Japanese friends. When Maya came back to America, she decided to get her PhD in linguistics. She wanted to study how languages could help people from different cultures understand each other better. She wrote papers about communication barriers and how to break them down. She dreamed of working for the United Nations someday, helping diplomats from different countries talk to each other. But PhD programs cost a lot of money. Even with scholarships, Maya had to work to pay for her rent and food. She had tried different jobs, but serving at fancy events paid the best. She worked for a catering company that did dinners for rich people and important business meetings. The work was hard, but the tips were good. Tonight's dinner was especially important. Maya's boss had told all the servers that these were some of the most powerful business people in the world. They had to be extra careful not to make any mistakes. Maya did not mind. She was used to working around important people. She had served at dinners for movie stars, politicians, and billionaires. What made Maya special was that she listened. While other servers just focused on their work, Maya paid attention to the conversations around her. She could not help it. Languages fascinated her. She loved hearing how different people spoke and what they talked about. Tonight, she noticed something interesting. There was a Japanese woman sitting at the main table who looked very uncomfortable. Maya recognized her from business magazines. Her name was Akiko Tanaka, and she was the CEO of a huge technology company. Maya had read articles about her company's amazing inventions, but here at the dinner, no one seemed to be paying attention to Akiko. Maya watched as Akiko tried to join conversations, but people ignored her or gave her fake smiles. Maya could tell that Akiko was frustrated. Her body language showed it clearly. Maya also noticed that the interpreter sitting next to Akiko was not doing a good job. Maya could hear parts of the conversations as she walked by with her serving trays. The interpreter was translating things incorrectly or leaving out important parts. He seemed more interested in talking to other guests than helping Akiko communicate. When Jack Morrison started his speech, Maya was refilling water glasses near the main table. She could see Akiko's face clearly. As Jack talked about foreign companies and unfair competition, Akiko's expression changed from confusion to hurt to anger. Maya realized that Akiko understood more English than people thought she did. She could tell that Jack's words were hurting Akiko deeply. Maya felt angry too. She had studied in Japan and knew how hard-working and honest Japanese people were. The things Jack was saying were not fair. Japanese companies were not trying to steal American technology. They were trying to innovate and create new things. Maya had seen this firsthand when she lived in Tokyo. As the evening went on, Maya kept watching Akiko. She saw how the other business people talked around her instead of to her. She saw how they made assumptions about her without even trying to understand what she was saying. It reminded Maya of her own experiences growing up as a poor black girl in a rich white school. People had made assumptions about her too, without bothering to learn who she really was. During her break, Maya went to the kitchen to think. She knew she should just focus on her job and stay out of the guests' business. But she also knew that something important was happening. Akiko Tanaka had come to this dinner for a reason. She had something important to say. Maya had read enough about her company to know that they were working on amazing technologies that could help solve world problems. Maya remembered something her linguistics professor had taught her. Language barriers are not just about words, he had said. They are about understanding and respect. When we refuse to listen to someone because of how they speak, we lose the chance to learn something valuable. That was exactly what was happening tonight. All these powerful business people were losing the chance to learn from one of the smartest people in the room, just because she spoke English with an accent and made some grammar mistakes. Maya made a decision. She would try to help, even if it was risky. She could lose her job if she interfered with the guests, but she could not stand by and watch such an injustice happen. As she went back to work, Maya started listening more carefully to what Akiko was saying. When Akiko spoke quietly, to herself in Japanese, Maya could understand every word, and what she heard made her very excited. Akiko was not just talking about business profits or stock prices. She was talking about revolutionary technology that could change the world. She mentioned something about quantum computing and renewable energy storage. Maya had read about these topics in science magazines. If what Akiko was saying was true, her company had made a breakthrough that could solve the climate crisis. Maya realized that she was witnessing a tragedy. Here was a woman who might have the key to saving the planet, but no one would listen to her because of language barriers and prejudice. It was like watching someone drown while everyone else stood on the shore arguing about whether they deserved to be saved. As Maya cleared plates from Akiko's section of the table, she made eye contact with the Japanese CEO. There was something in Akiko's eyes that Maya recognized. It was the look of someone who had important things to say but no one to listen. Maya had felt that way many times in her own life. Maya smiled at Akiko, not the fake smile that servers were trained to give. guests, but a real smile of understanding. For just a moment, Akiko smiled back. It was a small connection, but it was real. Maya decided that she would find a way to help Akiko communicate with the other guests. She was not sure how yet, but she would figure it out. She had not spent years studying languages and communication just to watch it fail when it mattered most. As the evening continued, Maya prepared herself for what she was about to do. She knew it was risky, but she also knew it was right. Sometimes the most important conversations happen between the most unlikely people. Sometimes, a server knows more than the CEO sitting at the head table. Maya took a deep breath and got ready to change everything. She had no idea that her decision would not only help Akiko, but would also change her own life forever. She was about to discover that knowledge really was the one thing no one could take away from her, and that sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is simply help someone else be heard. The moment of truth was coming, and Maya was ready for it. She had spent her whole life preparing for this conversation, even though she did not know it at the time. All her years of studying languages, all her experiences living in different countries, all her understanding of how communication really works, had led her to this moment. She just had to find the right time to speak up, and she had a feeling that time was coming very soon. The dinner was almost over, but people were still talking loudly. Some guests had moved away from their tables to network with others. They stood in small groups, laughing and exchanging business cards. The room buzzed with the sound of deals being made and partnerships being formed, but Akiko still sat alone at her place at the main table. Her interpreter David had wandered off to talk to some American businessman. He seemed to have forgotten that he was supposed to be helping her. Akiko looked tired and defeated. Her shoulders were slumped forward and she stared down at her empty coffee cup. Maya was clearing the dessert plates from the main table. As she worked, she moved closer and closer to where Akiko was sitting. Maya's heart was beating fast. She had decided to help Akiko, but she was nervous about breaking the rules. Servers were not supposed to have conversations with the guests. They were supposed to be invisible and quiet. As Maya picked up plates near Akiko's seat, she heard the Japanese CEO talking quietly to herself. Akiko was speaking in Japanese and her voice was full of frustration. Maya understood every word she was saying. "This is hopeless," Akiko said in Japanese. "I came here with such big dreams. I thought I could find partners to help save the world. But these people do not want to listen. They think I am here to hurt them, not help them." Maya's hand stopped moving. She looked at Akiko with surprise. This was exactly what Maya had suspected. Akiko had come here with good intentions, but the language barrier was stopping her from sharing her ideas. Akiko continued talking to herself in Japanese. "I have spent 10 years working on this project. We have finally solved the problem of storing solar energy efficiently. We can make batteries that last 10 times longer than anything that exists now. Countries could stop using coal and oil completely, but no one here wants to hear about it." Maya's eyes grew wide. She had read about this problem in science magazines. Scientists all over the world were trying to find better ways to store energy from the sun and wind. If Akiko's company had really solved this problem, it would be the biggest breakthrough in decades. "The quantum computing integration makes it possible," Akiko continued in Japanese. "We can predict exactly how much energy will be needed and when. The storage system adjusts automatically. It is like having a brain inside every battery." Maya could not believe what she was hearing. This was not just business talk. This was revolutionary science that could change the world. And these smart business people were ignoring it because they could not understand Japanese and were too prejudiced to try. Akiko sighed deeply and said in Japanese, "My daughter will never forgive me if I fail tonight. She believes that her mother can change the world. But maybe the world does not want to be changed." That was when Maya made her decision. She could not let this opportunity be wasted. She put down the plates she was holding and took a step closer to Akiko. Her hands were shaking a little bit, but her voice was steady. "Tanaka-san," Maya said quietly in perfect Japanese, "your quantum computing integration concept for renewable energy storage is amazing. It could really change everything, could it not?" Akiko looked up with shock. Her eyes were wide and her mouth was open. For a moment, she could not speak. She looked around to see if anyone else had heard Maya speaking Japanese, but the other guests were too busy with their own conversations to notice. You speak Japanese?" Akiko asked in Japanese, still looking amazed. "Yes," Maya replied in Japanese. "I studied in Tokyo for 2 years. I understand what you have been trying to tell people tonight. Your technology could solve the climate crisis." Akiko's face lit up like the sun coming out from behind clouds. For the first time all evening, someone understood what she was talking about. Someone who could actually discuss her ideas instead of just nodding politely and looking away. "You work here as a server?" Akiko asked in Japanese. "I am studying for my PhD in linguistics at Columbia University," Maya explained in Japanese. "I work here to pay for school. But I have been listening to your conversations tonight. I know that you have something very important to share." Akiko leaned forward excitedly. "You really understand quantum computing applications? I read about it in Scientific American magazine," Maya said in Japanese. "Your approach is different from what other companies are trying. You are not just making better batteries, you are making intelligent energy systems." "Exactly," Akiko said in Japanese, her voice getting louder with excitement. "The artificial intelligence learns the patterns of energy use. It knows when people need more power and when they need less. It can predict weather changes that affect solar panels and wind turbines." Maya nodded enthusiastically. "And because it uses quantum computing, it can process millions of calculations instantly. It can balance the entire power grid automatically." Yes, Akiko said in Japanese. "You understand perfectly. This is what I have been trying to explain all evening, but no one would listen." Other guests at nearby tables started to notice their animated conversation. They looked curious about why the Japanese CEO was suddenly so excited while talking to a server. Some of them moved closer to hear what was being said. Robert Smith, the car company owner, walked over to their table. "Is everything all right here?" he asked, looking suspicious. Maya took a deep breath. This was her chance to help bridge the communication gap. "Mr. Smith," she said in English, "Ms. Tanaka was just explaining her company's new energy storage technology. It is very impressive." "The server understands Japanese?" Robert asked with surprise. "I study languages at Columbia University," Maya explained politely. "Ms. Tanaka has been trying to share some very important ideas tonight, but there have been some translation difficulties." More people gathered around the table. Catherine Mills, the bank owner, looked curious. "What kind of ideas?" she asked. Maya looked at Akiko, who nodded encouragingly. Maya took another deep breath and began to translate Akiko's ideas into clear, simple English. "Ms. Tanaka's company has developed a revolutionary energy storage system," Maya said. "It uses quantum computing to create intelligent batteries that can store solar and wind energy much more efficiently than current technology." Jack Morrison, who had given the earlier speech about foreign competition, pushed through the crowd. "What is going on here?" he demanded. "We are just having a technical discussion," Maya said calmly. "Ms. Tanaka has some very interesting ideas about renewable energy." Jack looked annoyed. "I do not think servers should be interrupting our business discussions," he said rudely. But other guests were now interested in what Maya was translating. They wanted to hear more about Akiko's technology. Catherine Mills spoke up. "Actually, I would like to hear more about this energy storage system. My bank invests in green technology companies." Maya looked at Akiko again. Akiko was smiling for the first time all evening. She nodded at Maya to continue. "The system learns from usage patterns," Maya continued translating. "It can predict exactly when energy will be needed and adjust storage automatically. This means that solar and wind power can provide consistent electricity even when the sun is not shining or the wind is not blowing." "How is that possible?" asked a man from a German engineering company. Maya translated the question into Japanese for Akiko. Akiko responded enthusiastically, and Maya translated back into English. "The artificial intelligence analyzes weather data, historical usage patterns, and real-time demand," Maya explained. "It can predict energy needs up to a week in advance with 97% accuracy." More and more people gathered around to listen. David, the original interpreter, finally noticed what was happening and hurried back to the table. He looked embarrassed and angry that he had been replaced. "I can handle the translation," David said, trying to push Maya aside, but Akiko spoke up in English. "No," she said firmly. "Maya understands. She helps me speak my ideas correctly." Maya felt proud and nervous at the same time. She had never expected to become the center of attention at such an important event, but she could see that her help was making a real difference. For the first time all evening, people were actually listening to Akiko's ideas. The conversation was just getting started, and Maya could tell that everything was about to change. She had found her moment to make a difference, and she was not going to waste it. The crowd around Akiko and Maya grew larger. People who had been ignoring Akiko all evening were now pushing forward to hear what she had to say. Maya felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. She was no longer just a server clearing plates. She had become a bridge between two worlds. "Tell us more about how this technology works," said Dr. Harrison Webb, a scientist from MIT who had been quiet all evening. His eyes were bright with curiosity. Maya translated the question into Japanese for Akiko. Akiko's face glowed with happiness. Finally, someone was asking the right questions. She began speaking rapidly in Japanese, her hands moving as she explained complex concepts. "The breakthrough came when we realized that traditional batteries think in the past," Maya translated, trying to capture Akiko's excitement in English. "They store energy and release it based on what happened before. But our system thinks about the future." "What does that mean exactly?" asked Catherine Mills, leaning forward with interest. Akiko pulled out her smartphone and showed them a simple diagram. She spoke in Japanese while Maya translated. "The quantum computer inside each battery unit is connected to weather satellites, power company databases, and millions of smart devices," Maya explained. "It creates a digital map of energy needs before they happen." Jack Morrison stood at the back of the crowd with his arms crossed. He still looked suspicious and angry. "This sounds like science fiction," he said loudly. "How do we know any of this is real?" Maya translated his question to Akiko. Akiko smiled and responded in Japanese. "Ms. Tanaka says that they have already built a working prototype," Maya translated. "It has been powering an entire city district in Tokyo for 6 months. "Which district?" asked Dr. Webb. After Maya translated, Akiko answered in Japanese. "Shibuya District," Maya said. 200,000 people get their electricity from the system. The energy waste has decreased by 85%, and the cost of electricity has gone down by 60%. Murmurs of amazement went through the crowd. These were impressive numbers that got everyone's attention. Catherine Mills took out her phone and started taking notes. "Why have we not heard about this?" asked Robert Smith. Maya translated, and Akiko's expression became sad as she answered. "Ms. Tanaka says they tried to share this information with international companies many times," Maya translated. "But language barriers and prejudice made it difficult. Companies assumed that Japanese technology could not be better than Western technology. The crowd became uncomfortable. Some people looked ashamed because they realized they had been guilty of exactly that kind of thinking." Dr. Webb asked another, technical question. "How does the quantum computing component handle decoherence issues?" Maya paused. This was a very advanced scientific term. She was not sure she could translate it correctly. But Akiko had heard the English word quantum and understood the question. Akiko began drawing diagrams on a napkin while speaking rapidly in Japanese. Maya watched carefully and tried to understand the complex concepts Akiko was explaining. "The system uses a new type of quantum error correction," Maya translated slowly, making sure she got it right. "Instead of fighting decoherence, it uses the quantum uncertainty to make better predictions. The more unstable the quantum state, the more accurate the energy forecasting becomes." Dr. Webb's eyes went wide. "That is revolutionary," he whispered. "You are turning a bug into a feature." "Exactly," Akiko said in English, one of the few technical words she knew well. The conversation was becoming very exciting. More and more. People joined the crowd. Even some of the hotel staff stopped their work to listen. Maya realized that something historic was happening. This was not just a business discussion anymore. This was the moment when a world-changing technology was being shared for the first time with an international audience. What would it take to implement this in America? Asked a woman from a renewable energy company. Maya translated. And Akiko's answer was long and detailed. Maya listened carefully and then translated in parts. Ms. Tanaka says that her company would need local partners in each country, Maya began. They cannot do this alone. The technology needs to be adapted to different power grids and different weather patterns. How many jobs would this create? Asked Robert Smith. He was starting to sound interested instead of suspicious. After translation, Akiko smiled and gave an answer that made everyone pay attention. Ms. Tanaka estimates that implementing this technology worldwide would create 15 million new jobs, Maya translated. Engineers, technicians, factory workers, maintenance specialists, and software developers. 15 million jobs? Catherine Mills repeated. That would be the largest job creation program in history, and it would help solve climate change at the same time, added Dr. Webb. Jack Morrison pushed forward through the crowd. His face was red with anger. This is ridiculous, he said loudly. You are all being fooled by fancy promises and big numbers. This woman wants to sell you something and you are falling for it like children. The crowd turned to look at Jack. Many people looked annoyed by his interruption. Maya translated his comments to Akiko, whose face became serious. Akiko spoke quietly in Japanese, and Maya translated her response. Ms. Tanaka says she is not trying to sell anything tonight. She came here hoping to find partners who want to work together to solve global problems. She says that climate change is too big for any one company or any one country to solve alone. That is exactly what someone would say if they were trying to trick us, Jack said angrily. Dr. Webb stepped forward. Jack, I have studied quantum computing for 20 years. What Ms. Tanaka is describing is scientifically sound. The mathematics work out. How would you know? Jack shot back. You are hearing this through a server who claims to speak Japanese. How do we even know she is translating correctly? Maya felt hurt by Jack's attack, but she stayed calm. She had expected that someone would question her abilities. I have my transcripts from Tokyo University with me, she said politely. I can show you my language certifications if you would like to see them. But Akiko stood up and spoke firmly in English, even though her grammar was not perfect. Maya translates perfectly, she said. She understands not just words, but ideas. She is better than professional interpreter. David, the original interpreter, looked embarrassed. He had been standing at the edge of the crowd, realizing that everyone could see how poorly he had been doing his job. Catherine Mills spoke up. I think we should listen to what Ms. Tanaka has to say. Even if we are skeptical, we should at least hear her out. Thank you, Akiko said in English, bowing slightly. Maya felt proud and nervous at the same time. She was helping to facilitate one of the most important conversations of her life. But she could also see that Jack Morrison was not going to give up easily. He was determined to discredit both Akiko and Maya. Let me ask you something, Jack said, pointing at Maya. What is your real relationship with this woman? How much is she paying you to say these things? Maya felt shocked by the accusation. I never met Ms. Tanaka before tonight, she said honestly. I am just trying to help with translation because I could see that communication was breaking down. A convenient story, Jack said sarcastically. But Dr. Webb had heard enough. Jack, you are being completely unreasonable. This young woman is providing a valuable service. Without her help, we would never have learned about this amazing technology. Other people in the crowd agreed with Dr. Webb. They were getting tired of Jack's negative attitude. They wanted to hear more about Akiko's inventions, not listen to Jack's complaints. Akiko could see that Jack was trying to hurt Maya's reputation. She spoke up in her broken but determined English. Maya is a good person, she said firmly. She helps because she wants the world to be better, not for money, for future. Maya felt tears in her eyes. She had never expected to receive such support from someone she had just met. Akiko was defending her in front of all these powerful people. The crowd was clearly on Maya and Akiko's side now. They wanted to continue the conversation about the technology, not waste time on Jack's accusations. Maya realized that she had successfully helped Akiko break through the language barrier. Now the real work could begin. "Should we move somewhere more comfortable to continue this discussion?" suggested Catherine Mills. "I think we all have many more questions." Akiko nodded enthusiastically. Maya realized that her small act of kindness had opened the door to something much bigger than she had ever imagined. The evening was far from over, and the best part was just beginning. The hotel manager quickly arranged for the group to move to a private conference room upstairs. The room had a big table, comfortable chairs, and a large screen for presentations. About 20 people followed Akiko and Maya to continue the discussion. Jack Morrison stayed behind in the dining room, still angry and refusing to participate. Maya felt overwhelmed as she walked into the conference room. A few hours ago, she had been just a server trying to earn money for school. Now she was in a room full of billionaires and brilliant scientists, helping to translate what might be the most important business conversation of the year. Akiko sat at the head of the table and pulled out her laptop computer. She connected it to the large screen and began showing slides with diagrams and charts. Everything was in Japanese, but Maya could translate the key points. "These are the test results from the Shibuya District project," Maya translated as Akiko spoke. "You can see the energy efficiency improvements over 6 months. The graphs showed amazing results. Energy waste had dropped dramatically, and customer satisfaction was at 96%. Dr. Webb studied the numbers carefully. "These results are incredible," he said. "How reliable is the system? What happens if the quantum computer fails?" Maya translated the question, and Akiko smiled as she answered. "The system has multiple backup layers," Maya translated. "If the quantum computer stops working, it automatically switches to traditional battery management. But in 6 months of testing, they have never had a complete system failure." Catherine Mills raised her hand. "What about the cost? How much would it cost to build this system in other cities?" After translation, Akiko clicked to a new slide showing cost estimates. Maya studied the numbers and translated them into dollars. "For a city of 1 million people, the initial investment would be about $5 billion, Maya said. "But the system would pay for itself in 3 years through energy savings." $5 billion is a lot of money," said Robert Smith. "But much less than building new coal or nuclear power plants." Maya translated Akiko's response. "And this system gets better and cheaper over time as the artificial intelligence learns more." A woman from a European energy company asked about patents and intellectual property. Maya translated, and Akiko's answer surprised everyone. "Ms. Tanaka says that her company wants to share the basic technology freely with international partners." Maya translated. "They do not want to control everything themselves. They want other companies to improve the technology and make it better." "You would give away your patents?" asked Dr. Webb with amazement. Akiko nodded and spoke passionately, in Japanese. Maya listened carefully and then translated. "Ms. Tanaka says that climate change is too big a problem for one company to solve alone. She says that if every company tries to protect their secrets, we will all fail together. But if we share knowledge and work together, we can succeed together." The Ikyo room became very quiet. This was not how business usually worked. Companies normally tried to keep their best technologies secret so they could make more money. But Akiko was offering to share her most valuable invention with her competitors. "Why would you do that?" asked Catherine Mills. Maya translated, and Akiko's answer was simple but powerful. "Ms. Tanaka says that her daughter is more important than her company's profits. She wants her daughter to grow up in a world with clean air and stable climate. She says that money is useless if the planet is destroyed." Many people in the room nodded in agreement. These were parents and grandparents who worried about the future their children would inherit. Dr. Webb leaned forward. "What would you need from American partners to make this work?" Akiko's face lit up as she answered in Japanese. Maya translated her excited response. "Ms. Tanaka says they need 3 things: First, they need local engineering expertise to adapt the technology to American power grids. Second, they need manufacturing partners to build the quantum computers and battery systems. Third, they need political support to get permission to install the systems in major cities. What about the technical expertise in Japan? Asked a man from a German company who had joined the video call. Would your engineers come to America to help with installation? Yes, Maya translated. Ms. Tanaka says they would send teams of their best engineers to work with American teams. She says the best way to transfer technology is for people to work together side by side. The conversation continued for over an hour. People asked detailed questions about manufacturing, installation, maintenance, and regulation. Maya translated everything carefully, making sure that both sides understood each other completely. As the night went on, Maya noticed something wonderful happening. The business people were not just asking about profits and market share anymore. They were asking about environmental impact and job creation. They were thinking about how this technology could help solve real problems in the world. Catherine Mills started talking about how her bank could provide financing for the project. Dr. Webb offered to connect Akiko with the best quantum computing researchers at MIT. Robert Smith said his car company could help manufacture the battery systems in their factories. We could create a consortium, suggested Dr. Webb. Multiple companies working together on different parts of the project. Maya translated this idea, and Akiko got very excited. She began drawing diagrams on a whiteboard, showing how different companies could specialize in different components while sharing the overall technology. This is exactly what I hoped would happen tonight, Maya translated, as Akiko spoke with tears of joy in her eyes. She says this is why she came to America. She wanted to find people who understood that cooperation is stronger than competition. As the meeting continued, Maya began to realize that she was witnessing history being made. These companies were forming partnerships that could change the global energy industry. Millions of jobs would be created, billions of tons of carbon emissions would be prevented, and it was all happening because she had decided to help with translation. But Maya also realized that her role was becoming more important than just translation. The business people were starting to ask her opinion about technical details. They respected her knowledge and wanted her insights. Maya, said Catherine Mills, you seem to understand both the technical and business sides of this project very well. What do you think about the timeline for implementation? Maya felt nervous about giving her opinion to such important people. But she had been thinking about this question as she listened to the discussion. I think the biggest challenge will not be technical, Maya said carefully. The technology works. The biggest challenge will be communication and cultural differences. Japanese and American business cultures are very different. Someone will need to help both sides understand each other throughout the project. Dr. Webb nodded thoughtfully. That is a very good point. We will need cultural bridges, not just technical ones. Akiko had been listening to this conversation in English, and she understood most of it. She spoke directly to Maya in English, even though her grammar was not perfect. Maya, Akiko said, you understand both cultures, you understand technology and business. You understand Japanese thinking and American thinking. Will you help us make this project successful? Maya's heart started beating fast. Was Akiko offering her a job? She looked around the room at all the powerful people who were waiting for her answer. What exactly are you asking me to do? Maya said quietly. Akiko smiled and spoke in Japanese, then translated herself into English. I want you to be Director of International Communications for this project. You will help American and Japanese teams work together. You will make sure everyone understands each other. Maya felt like she was dreaming. A few hours ago, she was worried about paying for her PhD program. Now she was being offered a position that could change her entire life. The room was quiet as everyone waited for her answer. Maya realized that this was her moment to decide what kind of future she wanted. She could stay safe and finish her PhD program, or she could take a risk and help change the world. She thought about her mother's words. Knowledge is the one thing no one can take away from you. Maya had spent years learning languages and cultures. Now she had a chance to use that knowledge to make a real difference. Maya looked at Akiko and then at all the other people in the room. These were not just business people anymore. They were partners in something bigger than any of them had imagined. When the evening started, "Yes," Maya said with a smile. "I would be honored to help you make this project successful." The room exploded with excitement when Maya accepted Akiko's offer. People were clapping and shaking hands. Dr. Webb came over to congratulate Maya personally. Catherine Mills immediately started talking about salary and benefits. Everyone seemed thrilled that Maya would be part of the project. "This calls for a celebration," said Robert Smith. He asked the hotel staff to bring champagne to the conference room. But Maya felt overwhelmed by all the attention. Just that morning, she had been worried about making enough money to pay her rent. Now she was being offered a high-level position with one of the most successful companies in the world. It felt too good to be true. Akiko noticed that Maya looked nervous. She came over and sat beside her. "Are you worried about something?" Akiko asked in Japanese. Maya answered in Japanese. "I am just a graduate student. I do not have experience running international business projects. What if I am not good enough for this job?" Akiko smiled kindly. "Tonight you did something that professional diplomats and business consultants could not do," she said in Japanese. "You built a bridge between two different worlds. You helped people understand each other. That is exactly what this project needs." Maya felt a little better, but she still had concerns. "What about my PhD program? I have been working on it for 3 years." "You can finish your degree while working for us," Akiko said. "In fact, this project could become your dissertation, research. You will be studying international communication in real time." Maya had not thought about that possibility. Her dissertation was supposed to be about breaking down language barriers in business settings. This job would give her the perfect opportunity to research that topic while actually doing the work. The champagne arrived, and everyone made toasts to the new partnership. Dr. Webb raised his glass and said, "To international cooperation and the power of communication." Everyone drank and cheered. As the evening wound down, the group began making concrete plans. They decided to meet again in 2 weeks to sign formal partnership agreements. Akiko would bring her top engineers from Japan to explain the technical details. The American companies would prepare investment proposals and regulatory applications. Maya would start her new job immediately. Her first task would be to help organize the technical meetings and make sure all the translations were accurate. She would also begin studying both Japanese and American business cultures to help the teams work together effectively. Catherine Mills gave Maya her business card. "Call me tomorrow," she said. "We need to discuss your compensation package and work visa requirements." Maya realized she would need a special work visa to work for a Japanese company. There would be a lot of paperwork and legal requirements to figure out. But Catherine assured her that the bank's legal team would help with everything. As people began to leave the conference room, Dr. Webb pulled Maya aside. "I want you to know that what you did tonight was extraordinary," he said. "You did not just translate words. You translated dreams and hopes. You helped people see possibilities they never would have seen otherwise." Maya felt proud, but also humble. "I just did what felt right," she said. "That is exactly why you are the right person for this job," Dr. Webb replied. After everyone else left, Maya and Akiko were alone in the conference room. The table was covered with notes, diagrams, and business cards. Maya looked at all the evidence of what had happened and still could not quite believe it was real. "Are you sure about this?" Maya asked Akiko in Japanese. "You are taking a big risk by hiring someone you just met." Akiko was quiet for a moment, thinking about her answer. "In Japan, we have a saying," she finally said in Japanese. "The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now." Maya did not understand what the saying had to do with her question. Akiko explained. "I have been looking for someone like you for 20 years. Someone who understands technology and business, but also understands people and cultures. Someone who cares more about solving problems than making money. Tonight I found that person. I am not going to wait another 20 years to hire her." Maya felt tears in her eyes. No one had ever expressed such confidence in her abilities before. "What happens now?" Maya asked. Now we change the world, Akiko said with a smile. But first, we get some sleep. Tomorrow we start the real work. Maya gathered her things and prepared to leave. As she walked toward the door, she turned back to look at Akiko one more time. Thank you, Maya said in Japanese. Thank you for giving me this chance. Thank you, Akiko replied in English, for helping me find my voice. Maya took the elevator, down to the hotel lobby. The dinner party was completely over now. The dining room was empty except for the cleaning staff putting away tables and chairs. Maya remembered how invisible she had felt just a few hours ago when she was serving dinner. Now she felt like the most important person in the world. She walked outside into the cool New York night air. The city was still busy with traffic and people, but Maya felt like she was walking in a dream. She pulled out her phone to call her mother and tell her the incredible news. Mom, Maya said when her mother answered the phone, you are not going to believe what just happened to me. Did you get good tips tonight? Her mother asked. She was used to Maya calling after work to talk about difficult customers or funny stories from the catering events. Mom, I think I just got the job of a lifetime, Maya said, her voice shaking with excitement. As Maya walked home through the streets of Manhattan, she thought about how much her life had changed in just one evening. She had started the day as a struggling graduate student working as a server to pay for school. She was ending the day as the director of international communications for a project that could change the world. But the most amazing part was not the job title or the money. The most amazing part was that she had used her knowledge and skills to help solve a real problem. She had helped two brilliant people understand each other. She had helped break down the barriers that were stopping important work from getting done. Maya realized that her mother had been right all along. Knowledge really was the one thing no one could take away from her, and tonight she had learned that knowledge was most valuable when it was used to help other people. As she reached her small apartment in Brooklyn, Maya looked up at the stars that were barely visible through the city lights. Somewhere up there were satellites that would soon be connected to Akiko's quantum computing systems. Those systems would help provide clean energy to millions of people around the world, and Maya would be part of making it happen. She had found her place in the world, and it was exactly where she belonged. Maya smiled as she unlocked her apartment door. Tomorrow would be the first day of her new life, and she could hardly wait to get started. She had no idea what challenges lay ahead, but she knew she was ready for them. After all, she had just proven to herself that with the right words at the right time, one person really could change the world. 6 months later, Maya stood in front of a huge crowd at the United Nations building in New York. She was wearing a professional blue suit and holding a microphone. Behind her was a big screen showing a map of the world with dozens of green dots, marking cities where the new energy system was being installed. Ladies and gentlemen, Maya said in perfect English, I am proud to announce that the Global Clean Energy Initiative has officially launched in 50 cities across 12 countries. The audience clapped loudly. Maya could see Akiko sitting in the front row with a big smile on her face. Next to her sat Dr. Webb, Catherine Mills, Robert Smith, and many other people who had been at that first dinner 6 months ago. Maya continued her presentation. This project has already created over 2 million new jobs. It has reduced carbon emissions by 30% in participating cities, and we are just getting started. The past 6 months had been the most exciting and challenging time of Maya's life. She had traveled to Japan, Germany, England, and many other countries to help set up partnerships between companies. She had learned to navigate complex international business negotiations while finishing her PhD dissertation. Her role as Director of International Communications had grown far beyond just translation. She had become the person who helped solve problems when different cultures clashed. She had helped Japanese engineers understand American safety regulations. She had helped American business people understand Japanese concepts of long-term thinking and group cooperation. The project had not been without challenges. There had been moments when Maya thought everything might fall apart. Some American politicians had criticized the project as giving away too much control to foreign companies. Some Japanese executives had worried that Americans would steal their technology and leave them behind. But Maya had worked tirelessly to keep everyone focused on their shared goals. She had organized cultural exchange programs where American and Japanese workers lived and worked together for months. She had created communication protocols that made sure everyone understood, not just what was being said, but why it was being said. Jack Morrison had tried several times to sabotage the project. He had spread rumors that the technology was dangerous, and that Akiko's company was secretly controlled by the Japanese government. But his attacks had failed because the project's success spoke for itself. The first city to install the complete system was Portland, Oregon. The results had been even better than anyone expected. Energy costs had dropped by 70%. The city's air quality had improved dramatically, and the system had created over 50,000 new jobs in manufacturing, installation, and maintenance. Other cities had quickly signed up to participate. London, Berlin, Toronto, Sydney, and dozens of other major cities around the world were now powered by the intelligent energy storage system that Akiko had invented. Maya's PhD dissertation had become a case study in international business communication. Her professors at Columbia University were amazed by the real-world research she had conducted. She had been offered teaching positions at several top universities, but she had decided to stay with the project. The work was too important and too exciting to leave. Maya had discovered that she loved being at the center of global problem-solving. She loved helping brilliant people from different cultures work together to create something bigger than any of them could have created alone. Today's announcement at the United Nations was special because they were revealing the next phase of the project. Maya clicked to a new slide showing plans for expanding the system to developing countries in Africa, Asia, and South America. We are committed to making sure that clean energy technology benefits everyone, not just rich countries, Maya said. Over the next 3 years, we will provide free installation and training to 100 cities in developing nations. The audience stood up and clapped. This was what everyone had been hoping for, a way to bring advanced technology to the places that needed it most. Akiko came up to the podium to join Maya for the final part of the presentation. Her English had improved dramatically over the past 6 months, thanks partly to Maya's coaching and partly to constant practice in international business meetings. 6 months ago, I sat at a dinner table feeling very alone, Akiko said into the microphone. I had important ideas to share, but no one would listen. I thought that language barriers and cultural prejudice would stop us from solving the world's biggest problems. She paused and smiled at Maya. But then I met someone who proved me wrong. Maya showed me that communication is not just about speaking the same language. It is about caring enough to understand each other. Akiko continued. Today, this project employs people from 30 different countries. Engineers from Japan work alongside engineers from America, Germany, India, and Brazil. We speak different languages, but we share the same dreams for the future. The audience applauded again. Maya felt proud and emotional as she listened to Akiko speak. The shy, frustrated woman from that first dinner had become a confident global leader. But this project is not just about technology, Akiko said. It is about proving that cooperation is stronger than competition. It is about showing that when we work together, we can solve problems that seemed impossible to solve alone. When the presentation ended, Maya and Akiko were surrounded by reporters asking questions. The project had become international news, and people around the world were excited about the possibilities for clean energy and global cooperation. Later that evening, Maya and Akiko had dinner at the same hotel where they had first met. They sat at a quiet table in the corner, away from the crowds and cameras. Do you ever think about that first night? Akiko asked in English. Every day, Maya replied. Sometimes I still cannot believe how much has changed. What do you think would have happened if you had not spoken up that night? Akiko asked. Maya thought about it for a moment. I think you would have found another way to share your ideas. You are too determined to give up. Maybe, Akiko said, but it would have taken much longer, and we might not have learned the most important lesson. What lesson is that? Maya asked. That the best solutions come from unexpected places, Akiko said. The person with the most important contribution might be someone that others overlook or ignore. If we only listen to people who look like us or sound like us, we miss out on amazing possibilities. Maya nodded in agreement. She had learned that lesson not just from her own experience, but from watching the diverse teams of workers who had made the project successful. Some of the best ideas had come from young engineers, maintenance workers, and even customers who had no formal technical training. What is next for us? Maya asked. Akiko smiled mysteriously. I have been thinking about that. There are so many other global problems that need solving. Climate change is just one of them. What about poverty, disease, education, hunger? Are you thinking about starting new projects? Maya asked. I am thinking about creating a new kind of organization, Akiko said. A global cooperation network that brings together the smartest people from every country and every culture to work on the world's biggest challenges. Maya's eyes lit up with excitement. Like a permanent international problem-solving team? Exactly, Akiko said. And I want you to help me build it. Maya felt the same rush of excitement she had felt 6 months ago when Akiko first offered her a job. This was another opportunity to be part of something much bigger than herself. Of course I will help, Maya said. What do we call this organization? Akiko had already thought about that. The Global Understanding Initiative, she said, because understanding each other is the first step to solving everything else. As they finished dinner, Maya looked around the hotel dining room. In 6 months, this place had become a symbol of possibility for her. It was where she had learned that one conversation could change the world. It was where she had discovered that her knowledge and skills could make a real difference. Maya thought about her mother, who was now incredibly proud of her daughter's success. She thought about her former classmates who were still struggling to find good jobs after graduation. She thought about all the young people around the world who felt invisible and unimportant. The most important thing Maya had learned was that everyone has something valuable to contribute. The challenge is creating opportunities for people to share their gifts and for others to recognize their value. As Maya and Akiko left the hotel that night, they walked past the dining room where that first dinner had taken place. The room was set up for another event with round tables and fancy place settings. I wonder what important conversations will happen in there tonight, Maya said. I hope they are better conversations than the ones we had 6 months ago, Akiko replied with a laugh. Maya smiled as they walked out into the New York night. The city was as busy and noisy as ever, but she felt different walking through it now. She was no longer an invisible graduate student struggling to pay for school. She was a global leader helping to change the world. But more importantly, she had proven to herself and others that understanding and cooperation were more powerful than competition and prejudice. She had shown that when people from different backgrounds work together, they can accomplish things that none of them could accomplish alone.